Hello, Vol Nation. Welcome to another episode of Believe in Tennessee Football. I'm your host, as always, Kyler Curberson, joined with Reed Bacon. Before we get into what we're going to cover, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell, rate and review us on your podcast platforms. It helps so much. Anyways, today we're talking about the NFL Combine and our four Vols that were there, what their numbers mean for them, what their grades are going to look like, and do we agree with some of the weaknesses and strengths that the scouts have put out there about them. We talk about Tennessee basketball, that big win versus Arkansas, what this SEC tournament is going to look like, and finish up with just a quick update on Vol baseball and how their season's going. So, great podcast, great listen. Let's jump into it.
The game. Snap. The kick is in the air, and the kick this time is no, sir-ree. No, sir-ree. Final score: Tennessee 20, Florida 17. Pandemonium reigns.
Loads up, fires long for the end zone. The pass is going to be caught by Tennessee. Tennessee wins! Caught it by Tennessee, Jawan Jennings. Jennings makes the catch in the end zone on the Hail Mary.
Down at the 35, to the 40, to the 45, to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. What did he do? All he did was score. Joey Pence, touchdown on play number 1.
All right, so before we jump into the podcast, shout out our number one sponsor, as always, betonline.ag. Listen, if you're wanting to make anything exciting, you got to bet on it. It makes it so much better. Even if you're following a team that you're not necessarily a fan of, you put some money down, the thing gets very exciting. You're really watching that game. BetOnline is that place to do it. It's got all the news, the stats, the scores, the odds, everything you could think of. They cover every sport too: football, basketball, boxing, golf, everything you could think of. That is the place to go. So when you head over, check out their new mobile site, their new website, and when you sign up, you will receive a 50% welcome bonus if you use the code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV when you sign up. So 50% welcome bonus. That's awesome. 50% on your first deposit. That's amazing. So before you watch any games, before you enjoy any sports, head on over to BetOnline, put some money down on it, make it exciting. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. All right, welcome in everybody. Another great podcast. I'm very excited. We're going to be breaking down the NFL Combine results of our Tennessee football alum now. And because it is NFL Combine weekend, I went ahead and wore my nice Pro Day shirt to remind you all that I didn't get invited. So great. But Reed, how we doing, bud?
I wish I had my cool Pro Day attire.
Yeah, it's got my name on the back too, 77.
That is cool, though. That really is cool that the schools do that every year. They always have some like dope gear that, I think I saw. I don't know if it was like Bama or Clemson or Ohio State, but they were doing one, and they were, it might have been like Trevor Lawrence's Pro Day, and he comes out and he's got like a warm up with Lawrence, on the back, like all this sweet gear. So I mean, even that shirt's dope. I mean, why don't you just?
It's nice, but I now wear 2 sizes smaller, so it's a little big on me, but I'll still wear it.
Yeah, no, you still got to rock it. It looks good, though.
Well, honestly, I will not wear it out because it's very awkward to have your name on the back of your shirt.
No, I know you would never wear it like out and about, like you and Brian are like going to go get tacos on Friday night, and you walk out of the back and you're like, that's your Pro Day Curberson shirt on. Brian's like, what the fuck are you doing? Go take it off. No, so I know you're not, but it looks good. Like it's perfect for this.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So you said you wanted to, I know we're gonna get into the NFL Combine stuff, but you said you might have some comments of last week's pod.
Yeah. Well, first off, you didn't ask me how I was doing today and how my weekend was. So first off,
I definitely said, how you doing, bud?
Did you?
There's no way I didn't.
All right.
Fans in the comments, tell me if I did or not. I can't even remember. But it's such a natural thing for me now. I do it every time. I feel like there's no way I missed it.
Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Okay, so my weekend's been great. Friday night, went and saw the new Batman. So
I saw it Thursday.
That doesn't surprise me because you and I are you love all superhero movies pretty much. I basically am just a Batman guy, and then I like Spider-Man, but then only really Tobey Maguire was my Spider-Man, so I hadn't even seen any of the new ones. But that doesn't surprise me, and it also does kind of surprise me that you and I haven't talked about the Batman movie yet, and so we'll save that for off the pod. But I'll say this: I liked it more than I thought I would. But like, no one's ever going to be my Batman besides Christian Bale, just like no one's ever going to be my James Bond besides Daniel Craig. So, but I liked it. Like, I thought it was a good movie. Like, I enjoyed it, and I will be excited to see where they go. It was just a different vibe and a different way to do Batman. I don't know what you thought though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just so tough to hold up to Christian Bale's and the other performances in those Christian Bale movies with like Heath Ledger being the Joker.
Tom Hardy.
What's his name is Bane. Like, those are heavy hitters. People didn't realize like how for a superhero movie, like Christian Bale and Heath Ledger were like A-list stars, and like Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth, like they weren't A-list when they became superheroes on the thing. Like there's Robert Pattinson's not A-list. It's like that is like crazy, the fact that those two were in a movie together and it was a superhero movie.
This is perfect for the podcast. So I'm using my mom's phone because I use my phone and my iPad, and I don't have my work phone anymore.
Who's calling?
Jobs, but my sister's calling, so I'm going to answer it real quick.
Okay.
What's up, Georgia? I'm in the middle of doing the podcast right now, and I have mom's phone so I can look up combine results. Do you need anything important, or are you just checking? All right, we got to go. I'll talk to you later. So anyways, what did you think of the Batman movie 1 out of 10, though? Like, just.
I would probably give it like a 7.5, maybe.
Okay.
I like the fact that it was more of a detective movie than it was a superhero movie, which I liked.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was a whole different vibe besides being really dark and just a whole different, like I said, vibe to it. But I did like the fact that it was more of like a murder mystery. Yeah. And then I don't know, you and I'll talk about it afterwards because like Robert Pattinson was better than I expected, but like he's still kind of like a little bit lame in my opinion. I don't know, but I mean, I enjoyed going, and I'll be excited to see, what comes from it.
Yeah, I also think there's like they set everything up to be a lot.
That's
more
what I'm
growth.
saying. No spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So I saw that Friday, Saturday. We'll talk about it, but watched the game, the UT game, and then just hung out, ran some errands with my mom, getting ready for vacation coming up this week, and then Sunday, nice mass service at Sacred Heart. I saw Danny again, Big Danny White, so I think he's becoming a regular, which is good. And then, just ready to talk about this pod. And it's funny because I really am, like, growing up, like I said on the last pod, I used to, like, eat the off season up. Like, when I was in high school and college, I was not joking when I said, like, I would be in my room watching just countless hours of YouTube videos of highlights of these upcoming college guys going, and then I would read all the stuff about the combine, all that. Like, now I don't really keep up with this as much. I haven't really watched it. I have looked at the numbers, and we're going to talk about some of those, here shortly or whatever. But if you want, I think we should. Oh, yes, I did. To answer your question, yes, I did go back and watch last week's podcast, and it was so funny because I was sitting here doing work.
Dude,
literally.
I just can't even with you. The people were so excited to see that you were back. They were leaving comments in there. But man, you just get so distracted with other stories.
It's unbelievable, bro. I get distracted. I'm all over the place sometimes. Ariel, my girlfriend, would just be like, "What the fuck's going on?" Like, no, she does not say that. That's my she nuts because she doesn't cuss, but she'll be like, I don't get you sometimes. I'm like, bro, I don't get my brain either. It's all over the place.
She just looks at you like this.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. She's like, Reed, you're such a doofus sometimes. I'm like, yeah, I know. Anyways, I was sitting there doing work this week, and I was listening to our pod, so I was playing it back and watching on YouTube, and I was like, what the? I was like, oh boy, switched up the editing. Now, I like it. It's fine with me, but it did worry me for a second. I was like, did I do anything? Because there were times in the past where I knew you were talking that gave me a minute to check my phone, read something, maybe eat, drink some water, maybe like I wasn't looking at you, so I didn't want them to think I wasn't listening to you. And then the best one was, I was like, bro, sometimes I pick my nose. I'm like anyone that knows me knows that, like, I'm the cleanest, kind of biggest germaphobe there is. But like, I still like to have a nice nose pick every once in a while. Then I'll wipe it off on a tissue and wash my hands appropriately. But I was like, I wonder if Kyle's going to be talking and all of a sudden they just see me just getting ham on one of mine. I was like, I don't think I did it this week, but now knowing forward that he splits the camera, I'm going to have to be much better when he's talking.
Well, it's twofold. So one part of it is, I think people would enjoy to see our reactions to what the other person is saying. Because sometimes I'll say something and you'll react and make a funny face, or I'll react and make a funny face. And it's like, okay, now we get to see both sides of it. And second, it actually speeds up the editing process a lot.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Instead of like cutting out every time you're not talking, I just splice it together.
Yeah.
And it's a lot smoother. So I think I'm going to try and do that moving forward, just because we are on Zoom. And I think a lot of podcasts have it to where you can see both people at the same time.
Yeah, no, listen, for all the people, and I need to get into this too. I haven't been great about saying this stuff, but man, some of these comments and stuff, I mean, it honestly is so humbling and so heartwarming. But like, seeing these people, they're like, hey, this is my favorite time of the week.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get burnt out. Like, we know the numbers are dropping, but like, we appreciate it. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like there is times where this, like, it is like a chore to do this. Like, I still enjoy it, but like, there's times where like I have to make it work, like, and make it figure out. And I'm not even the one doing all the work. Like, you have to do all the editing and all that stuff. I put in a lot of prep usually for my show prep, but you're the one that does show prep, does it, and then edits it. So I feel bad for you, but it does mean a lot. And still, some of the comments are so funny and they're so great. And I'm going to probably read some of those next week, or start reading some more of them throughout each week, just because I do really appreciate them. They do make me laugh. And they're great. They're great content, or great back and forth. So
yeah, exactly. I love the support. I love them saying that, like, they look forward to this every week. It like makes it worth it when I'm on a Tuesday night trying to get the editing done so I can get it uploaded and it be out on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it's like stressing me out because I'm running out of time, and like all of a sudden, like, it really does make it worth it. So I appreciate the fact that people actually enjoy this and love listening to it. And it's not like family members. You know what I mean? Like, my mom's going to love this no matter what, but
none of my family even listens, so it's all good except Ariel.
Dude, a lot of the women in my family don't listen because they don't understand any of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, that just went right over my head. I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, well, I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it does, but it does mean a lot, man. I love those comments. I got to get back to reading them and saying stuff and giving shout outs, because these fans they're incredible. I mean, we're not setting out to be professional podcasters. We both have other jobs. We just enjoy doing it. We want to kind of see where it goes. And it really started because you potentially do want to work in media. So this is just your way of practicing and getting your name out there and doing it. And so anyways, it's been great. But let's start with basketball. Let's start with basketball.
You want to start with basketball, not the combine.
Let's do basketball. Let's do combine, and then we'll finish up with a little baseball.
Okay.
Basketball. I don't want to just jump right into the Arkansas game. because we did have our game earlier this week on, I guess it was Tuesday against Georgia.
Yep.
And it was so funny because after my dad and I went to that Auburn game, and he said, I'm a little nervous. He's like, I'm a little nervous about that Tuesday. Maybe, we're not, we're coming off a big win. We're looking towards Arkansas. Yeah, exactly. Kyler's doing the sleep. It's kind of one of those fall asleep. And so it was so funny because I work remote now with my new job. So like I had worked that day here at the house and then went and worked out and then ran some errands. Like I needed to go do some stuff. So I came back and they were in the game. Georgia was up like 10 or 11 early. My dad's like, I told you. I said, Dad, chill out. I said,
it's going to be all right.
I said, we're going to be all right. I said, well, I'll get nervous with you if there's 6 minutes to go and they're still up by 5 or 6. I said,
yeah, let me tell you, when they went up and that number 3 for Georgia, absolutely on his head, just I was like, hey guys, can we start trying a little bit harder here? Like,
dude, he put. I respect Vescovi, aka Vescovi, for sliding over, bro. Like I respect it. Anytime someone goes up for a block or tries to do the like an actual block, or they try to go for a charging call, I'll respect you because you were putting yourself out there so hard. I mean, that's almost when you go up to try to block a good dunker or someone who has already the advantage because they got to step on you or whatever, and you go up to try to block or get a charge. I respect that as much as I respect a guy going to a bar and going up to a girl who's way out of his league asking for her phone number. Like, my guy, like, you're probably going to get turned down, and there's probably going to be like 3 or 4 people that notice it. Yeah. But like in basketball, there's about 3 or 4 million that are going to see it probably because of Sports Center and all that. So it's like I respect those guys more than anything.
You know who does it all the time is Giannis. He's gotten dunked on so much because he'll go over and be like, I can try.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, and then you see the other ones that are like, they look at it for a second and they kind of put their head down and kind of just like walk by and just like.
Or the ones that are just like a waste of time that literally jump and turn like that. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Just move out of the way.
Hey, you know what I started doing just to be a pest when I was playing like in these men league rec leagues, because there were some guys that like the team I played on, we had no business playing some of these teams. I mean, because they were some straight up hoopers, like much better basketball players. But if there was a guy on a breakaway and he was much more athletic than I was and was going to yam it, I would sprint, and then right when I got there, I'd slow down a little bit and cut like right up under him. And so, because it kind of meant like, because you're cut, like I don't touch him, but he's like, and like I always love when I see like professionals or college guys do that, because I'm like, dude, that messes with people so hard. And
for sure, if they're gripping it with one hand, they start like thinking about you, they might like miss the rim or like it might slip or something.
Yeah. I used to love it. I just called it my little drive-by. I used to piss so many people off doing that.
Yeah. They try and get it and it just goes. And bounces off the rim.
Yeah. But no, I will always respect people that go up and try to block or do that. So anyways, but what were you saying though? You got a little bit nervous when you saw that?
Yeah. Well, I when I saw that, I was like, all right, guys, like time to wake up a little bit. Like, don't just let them run all over you, which they did. They, came back in full force. It was fine by the end of it, but it's also like it was at Georgia. And we've talked about it multiple times. Like, we're good at home. We're not so good away. And we're going to be playing away the rest of the season. So it's like, hey, we really need to get better outside of our home arena. And to like, if we were to like lost that game, I mean, God, that would have sucked. Like,
bad loss. It would have been
bad. It would have been so bad. Especially just ranking wise, like that could have dropped us a whole seed, honestly. But won that one. Then we go into Arkansas, last home game. Last chance to really show that we're a contender in the regular season. It was a huge game. And so the contender part, the fact that, Arkansas is seen as like this up-and-coming team, that Musselman is the one to, the hot coach right now in the SEC, keeping the –
Doesn't he kind of feel like Nate Oates of last year for Bama?
Yes. Well, it was
But
almost
anyway.
like him and Nate Oates last year were going back and forth. Like,
Yeah, no,
he was like coach of the year,
Yeah, Arkansas was a good coach. I mean,
Yeah.
a good program, and they had a good year last year.
But and then, keeping the home record undefeated. Last game for Folke gets us that number 2 seed in the SEC tourney. So it was there was a lot of stuff going on for that game.
Right.
Looked great on TV, checkered out. I thought it was a very fun game. I mean, we were absolutely crushing them. Them coming back and making it close was very worrisome. And just like, this can't happen to us again, right? Like this, like we're supposed to win. Like this can't happen. But I love the game. I mean, dude, some of our shooting, like we were lights out that first half. Like we could not miss.
80, I swear, I think we were like 81 or 82%. So it
was crazy. And I remember the announcer saying at one point, and I'll look up the stats, but they said that we were like 7 of 8 from 3. We ended up 12 of 18, 66% from 3. What? Like, that is incredible. 46% from the field, 33 rebounds. I mean, it was a good game. It was a good, because Arkansas is a great team, and it was like, oh, we're absolutely crushing them. For them to come back, like, that makes sense, because we're 13, they're 14. So it's like, but the biggest thing to come out of this game is our seeding in the SEC tournament. I absolutely love where we're at. But I don't know if you want to talk about the Arkansas game before we move into that.
Yeah. So for me, it was funny. Like I said, I went to the Batman movie. Well, we didn't go till 10 o'clock. And so I got home at like 1:30. I'm a night owl anyway. So I stayed up till like 2. So your boy wakes up, for the nooner game. And I'm like awake at like 10:30. I like lay in bed, like maybe grab something to eat and then go lay back down. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to chill until the game comes on. Well, then I wake up and it's like 12:15 and the game's already started. And I'm like rolling over and I'm like, damn, like, holy crap.
What an analyst you are.
I was like, damn, bro. I was like, we're already up on them like big time like this. So then I start like looking on my phone and I hear them talking about, because I want to see the stats. I want to see where we are. And it's like, okay, all right. Well, we're jumped out on them big. And I'm like, they're going to make a run. And I was like, and the thing is about in basketball, like when you are shooting that well, the other team is going to make a run because shots aren't going to fall. It's
also, guys get lax. When you're up 15 points, you're kind of like, well, I'm not going to dive after that ball, or I'm not going to go for the steal. I don't want to foul him.
Well, yeah. One of my favorite sports quotes, because I do believe it to be really true, is that like you can't fake. And I probably said it on this podcast at some point, but you can't fake desperation. It's kind of like when whether it's like the NBA finals and there's a team that's down 3-1 or 3-2, like if you lose, you go home. Like it's really hard for the team that's up to manufacture that same just amount of effort and intensity. Mm-hmm. And so, like you said, I think it's a great point you bring up. Like we're winning, we're making everything. It's like when you're making shots, everything else looks like it's going well.
Yeah.
And you might still be playing pretty good defense and taking care of the ball. But like when those shots do start falling and the other team starts making them, like things can change pretty quick. And like you said, Arkansas is a darn good team. So like I knew they were going to make a run. So anyways, I'm like, I turned the game on. I'm like, dang, we're up on them. Watch the first half. I'm like, okay, all right, let's come back out. I knew the second half, like first little bit of the second half. So I'm watching, and Arkansas does cut it within 10. Well, then I felt really good. And this sounds bad to say because it was still so much ball game to play.
Oh,
but
yeah.
they make a little run. It was right at that 13-minute mark, and we hadn't made some shots. I didn't like what we were settling for, and I was so happy to see Triple J kind of have this little takeover where he doesn't settle for a three. He makes a move. He gets to that little 15-footer that he likes to hit. He knocks it down. He comes back down. He gets the block charge, and so we get the ball. We go back down. Then he They're passing around. He gets it. He dishes to Kennedy Chandler. Kennedy Chandler hits a three. So that's when I was like, okay, like now I'm feeling good. We kind of had taken their first punch out of halftime. We regrouped. We responded. Okay, great. Well, then Reed decides to, no. We had a neighbor show up at our house. So we had a neighbor who'd been out of town. We had been collecting their mail or whatever. So she comes by, and, you know, when they come by and she comes downstairs, well, then the dog gets going wild and all that crap. And then she comes upstairs. So I'm not getting to watch the game as much. So then I'm kind of watching it on eye to eye, but I'm like trying to do stuff, help my mom, get this lady's crap, all that stuff. Well, then the next thing I know, I'm like looking up and they're coming back. Yeah. And I'm just like, you know, what the hell's going on here? And so it was really nice to see them close out the game, you know, because that's what you're going to have to do in March. I mean, we're in March now. So It's like Kyler, it's as basketball as a whole, for us to get the number 2 seed is very impressive in the SEC tournament. I mean,
these teams in the SEC are dogs. Like this is the strongest I feel like the SEC has been. Like the top 4 are very good, like very, very good teams. Alabama's dangerous. LSU's dangerous.
LSU's dangerous, yes.
Like I would say the top 6 are all teams that like could beat one another.
Agree.
For sure.
Agree completely. I agree completely. And that's why I say, even though Reed coming from Mr. I don't care what we do in the regular season, like I just want to see him win in March. Going into this season, I necessarily wasn't like super excited about this season. Or maybe it was a delayed excitement, but like I was still like, okay, we got Kenny Chandler. Let's see what this boy's about. Mm-hmm. And I knew we had the 2 big boys, Brandon Huntley Hatfield and Jason Fadu coming in. So I'm like, all right. I'm like, okay. I didn't expect Euros. I didn't expect Euros to do anything, but he's been
Folky coming back.
Correct. So I was like, all right, Folky to help these guys. So I was like, we should be pretty good. Like I'm thinking we should be pretty good. Then I watch a couple early games. I'm like, all right, they're not bad. And then we kind of had this slump, and I'm just like, you know, I had some buddies that were like, we're not even going to make the tournament. I'm like, chill, bro. Like, we're going to definitely make the tournament. Like, calm down. But I definitely had those moments of we're going to be kind of middle of the road. But then it has been this last stretch of beating Kentucky, you know, and how we did it, and beating Auburn and splitting with Arkansas and remaining undefeated at home and winning these games. And I'm like, I'm just proud. Like, I'm proud of how they played. I'm proud, like you said, of getting the number 2 seed. That's huge. I mean, let's go down there and win 1 or 2 games. Let's not completely piss down our legs, as you like to say. And then let me sit back, see what we get in the tournament, and let's see how they put a bow on this. Do I expect this team to go to the Final Four? No. Do I expect this team to make the Elite 8? No. But I'm gonna tell you, if we make the Sweet 16, I'll be really pumped, and if we make the Elite 8, I will be ecstatic. So. Yeah. But so far, like, I'm pretty proud with how they've been. Like, they've been honestly a little bit better than I expected after watching. Yeah, and
I think, you know, we're talking about the Arkansas game. Like, they were able to stop those runs. It's like the strength of this team is their defense. So don't let them score. Like, if these guys get hot and can score and are making baskets, like, no one's going to compete with them. That's where I'm at. If there is a lead, like, I don't think anybody can really come back on them because, I mean, they're a defensive-minded team. Like, they held Arizona to like 50-something points when we beat them, and they were they're 90-point-a-game team. So it's like having that defense like makes me feel so much better. Like, defense wins championships. I know it's said a lot, but like that is so true when it comes to this. I almost don't have faith that we would make it far in the tournament because of the past. Like, because I've seen how good our teams have been in the past and not get anywhere with it. Like, that almost like skews the way I feel about this team moving forward. Even if I don't want to knock some of the teams in the past. Like, we've had Elite 8 runs, we've gone to the Sweet 16, but it's the fact that our teams were so good that we really felt like, hey, this is our chance to make the Final Four. Yeah, so man, like, we should not have lost to Loyola. Agreed. Like, that shouldn't have happened.
I know.
So,
but like that Purdue loss, that was a very good Purdue team, and that was a back and forth game. So yeah, it stinks we lost. But like, I don't look at that. I don't look at that as a choke job. I just look at that as a missed opportunity for the whole year. But like, I don't ever look at that Purdue. I mean, Gus Edwards was a baller. Klein, the white guy Klein, had like 30 or 40 points. I mean, he couldn't miss from three. So it was a hard fought game. And Purdue's a good basketball school. I mean, hell, they're good again this year. But
yeah.
But my thing is not Tennessee as a whole, but Rick Barnes as a whole. Like, that's why I'm always like, we'll see what happens in March. But I think going into it this year, I have a much better outlook on it because of the past couple of years. So I'm almost like, this is going to be gravy on the biscuit now. Like,
on the biscuit, baby.
I mean, I'm not going to like go in expecting to win. I'm going to be in like, everyone we win, I'm going to enjoy and be happy about.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is too. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the number 2 seed, like, looking at the bracket, and I'll put it up for YouTube so you guys can see it, but looking at this bracket, I would think the number 2 is almost better than the 1st seed. Like, I think Arkansas is more dangerous versus us than Kentucky. Like, I feel better about Kentucky versus Arkansas. While Auburn has Arkansas on their side, I feel better about Mississippi State and South Carolina, while Florida and A&M are on Auburn's side, because of the teams in our bracket, you got Georgia, Vandy, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Alabama, Kentucky. Every one of those, besides Kentucky, we've beaten in the past, or besides Alabama, we've beaten in the past month. And the only reason we lost to Alabama is because we had guys out when we played them.
Yeah, Kenny Chandler and Fulke were both out.
Yeah, they were both out. So it's like, I'm like, if we would have gotten the number 1 seed and we had Arkansas again, we had LSU in there, and A&M and Florida, like Florida being that big rival, like, I would have been more nervous on that end than I would on this end. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, agreed, because of matchups. I don't want to play Arkansas. I don't want to play Bama. I would much rather. I really don't want to play Auburn again, but I'm fine with playing Kentucky. Like, they're really good. But the biggest thing, and I was sitting here, if people wanted to know why I was not looking at you and I was actually watching these highlights again from that Arkansas game yesterday. And I'm so proud of them. I really am, for holding on like they did. And I mean, I was just looking. I mean, it was like a 2-possession game with like 2 or 3 minutes to go. So it was still like, hey, this is a legit game. Like, you guys got to make plays. But the biggest thing about March is, like you said, we're going to play defense, and we're going to play hard and play defense. We just have to be really good with the ball. Don't turn it over. But we're going to have to make our shots. And if we're not making our shots, we got to get to the rebound. We got to get to the baskets with our guards, Kenny Chandler, Vescovy, Ziegler, and even Josiah. They need to get to the rack, and if your shots are not making from outside, you got to get to the free throw line, or you got to make easy baskets.
Yeah, that's what happened last time we played Arkansas. We just weren't making we couldn't make a thing.
Correct, and that's why if that happens, you got to figure something out, and that's why they always say, like, you got to just see one go in. You got to feel good. You got to just see one go in. So, I mean, I'm really proud of how like I said, rewatching this highlights again, I'm like, dang, that was so close. It was awesome to win. And I was pumped. I mean, this sounds kind of cliche, or like kind of just like it shouldn't really, really matter. But like, I'm pumped that they stayed undefeated at home. Like, that's a dope thing to say. Like, and I don't care what sport, whether it's college football, NFL, college basketball. Like, if you can defend your home turf, like it's a good thing. It's a good building block too.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, I'm excited for the SEC tournament, and then we'll see how we play there, because that's going to give us a thing. That's going to give us maybe a preview of how they look in the big boy tournament.
Exactly. That's how I always view it. That SEC tourney, just being like, okay, what is it like when we're playing on, a neutral site somewhere, and that it's kind of like it's elimination kind of stuff. They're still doing double elimination for the SEC tournament, right? I think so. What? That always gets confusing as hell.
Is it?
I thought it was. I mean, maybe not.
I didn't think the SEC was ever double elimination.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I didn't think that it was ever double elimination. But now that you say that, I'm like,
I know, right? Like that was in my head that it.
No, I don't think any college basketball has ever been double elim.
I guess they can't technically do that because it. Like if a team gets to the final game, like the other team has to beat them twice, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't. Are you drunk right now? No, I'm just no, dude. I just was watching this and it cracks me up. So first off, I was so happy that we hit our free throws. I got a little nervous when Ziegler missed one, and I forget someone else missed one. But watching this, when that Arkansas guy airmails it, do you remember that? With like a minute to go in the game, like 40 seconds, and they have a chance to go down, and he just sails it out of bounds. And I was watching that yesterday. I was like, thank God he did that. That's something that Tennessee would usually do. They were
something that we would do.
They were trying to like break away, and dude just sends it into like the student section. I forgot about that.
It reminds you like Jackie Moon, where he just like throws it over the whole backboard.
Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh, but yeah, I'm fired up. I'm excited, so it'll be good.
Me too.
All right, you want to talk about the NFL Combine now?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm very excited to jump into this. So if you want to go ahead and start her off.
Yeah, I don't know do you want to start with a certain guy first? I mean, I'm biased. I'd like to start with Cade as offensive lineman.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead. Jump in and start talking about Cade.
So Cade measurables good. 6'5", 311, 34 1/8 arms, 10-inch hands. Like, I'm glad he got over the 10-inch mark because it's honestly like kind of a no-no for offensive linemen to have under 10. And I know that is part of it, but I'll tell you what, having big hands doesn't mean you're a good player at any position. It might give you somewhat of an advantage in certain instances, but like that doesn't grade you on your ability, because if it did, I'd be getting paid millions of dollars right now by an NFL team. My hands are 10 3/4 inches, so very large hands.
Yeah, but I feel like almost offensive linemen. I mean, yeah, you want those big paws and big mitts, but almost your arm length is almost like your arm length is what they care about so much. Dude, what was your arm length? Do you remember?
I think it was like 30, 34 or something. I don't know, but
okay.
I also struggle. My hands are so big, it gave extra length because they go from shoulder to tip of your finger.
Right.
And I'm like, well, really, when I punch, it's shoulder to wrist.
Right.
And I don't have that long of arms.
Right.
Like, that has always been a thing. Like, I don't have that long arms. But, yeah, I think that you're right, that the length of the arm is probably more important than the actual hand size.
Yeah. But
if your hands are fast, who cares? Like, if your hands are fast, you can grab a hold of somebody before they can knock them down, you're fine.
Right.
You're fine. So,
and let me say this too while we're talking through this. If you guys want to go to the NFL.com or just the NFL app, it's a very, very good app. Like, I love how they have this, like, you click on the person, prospect info, college, hometown, gives all their measurables. It gives a prospect grade, which we're going to talk a little bit about. And then it kind of goes through all their results. So I think it's a very neat app, but continue. Yeah,
exactly. So, prospect grade, they gave him a 6.1, which is average. Just says good backup with potential to develop into a starter, which I would say is on par. I'm not going to say he's going to be like a starter day one. Like, that makes sense. And I thought he had some good numbers that, a 5.24 40 is respectable for an offensive lineman. It's not like super slow or super fast. Vert and Broad weren't like out of this world. They're okay. Cone drill was good, 7.57, and shuttle was good, 4.7 for an offensive lineman. That's good. That's what I had. He beat me in the 3-cone, and I beat him in broad and vert. So,
see, I don't. Oh wow, it even has a video here of him running. Yeah, I'm watching his 40 right.
And he looks good.
He
looks good.
I thought his 40,
he didn't bench, which I think could possibly be shoulder nagging him, or he's like, you know what, give me another month and a half, and I can get my bench numbers up, and then I'll do it at pro day.
Yeah, I think he looks good running here. Actually, I think he looks pretty fast while he's running. I thought the exact same thing about bench, like, because I want to see what he benches. I want to see how strong he is, but I definitely thought it was something that was nagging. His 10-yard split was 186. Like that's not bad. I mean, that's not bad at all. I actually couldn't agree more though with the prospect grade. I love this grade that they do this, and you can click on it and kind of read about it and stuff. And so it has its strengths, it has weaknesses, which I have not read for his yet, but just the overall grade for him of good backup with potential start. I like, that's perfect. That's perfect for him. Like, it's perfect for him because of his athletic ability, but also like his ability to play, but then his ability to stay healthy. So like, I think this is like, hey, it's kind of like the perfect thing for the NFL, or definitely like an NBA draft. It's like, hey, Cade's got a bunch of potential. We're going to take a chance on him. Let's see what the hell happens.
Yeah. And I as I go through like what the kind of scouts for NFL, I guess, wrote up on him, they're really looking at him as like a center, which I don't think he's really had any game experience at center. And like, that's a little different. I think he would be
it says here
a lot more comfortable at guard, but I don't know if they're just like, because of his size, they want him at center.
It says on here on the strengths, it says has experience at all 5-0 line positions.
But I didn't see him playing center. I've seen him play both guards and tackles, but I'm sure he knows how to snap.
Sure.
Because you're just kind of taught that during practice. But I mean, what I talked about as soon as the season ended about him, under weaknesses, the very first bullet point, missed multiple games due to injury in 3 out of the 4 seasons. So it's like, that is a big thing for teams. Like, they're not going to take risks on you, and they might even have you sign waivers for your previous injuries. And like, there's a waiver on your right ankle because it's gotten, torn 3 times, and we're not going to deal with that. So if it gets torn again, we can cut you without having to pay you. So they might do that to him. So he needs to be, prepared for that. And whenever you do roll your ankle, just don't say anything. That's literally how it goes. But some of these weaknesses I don't necessarily agree with. Struggled with guard assignments in 2020. I mean, I didn't see that out of him, 2 years ago, but I mean, that's, he's younger, so he gets more experience. Lacks technique on double teams. I don't necessarily agree with. Can maintain a wider base through engagement. That I kind of do. Athletic defenders can take advantage of his forward lean. I agree with. He is such a headhunter that sometimes he does like try and kill a guy, and doing that, you can fake him out and get him into that lean. Pass protection can be straight legged. I agree. At tackle, I think at guard, it's better from him. And needs to punch with faster, more efficient hands. I don't know. I wouldn't say he's slow by any means with his punch. I've seen multiple times in a game where it's just one punch and he grabs a hold of a guy and the guy's not going anywhere. So, this might be ticky-tacky on some of the stuff.
Sure. And I think it's difficult for these guys have so many people to go through. I mean, how many games of Cade's is he really watching? You know what
exactly.
I mean? Like, do we know if he watches a good one or a bad one, or just, so it's like, I respect what these guys do. And a lot of this stuff I agree with, but some people can look at it as being nitpicky, and other people can think that, you know what I mean? So it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, it says right here in his strengths, has talent for combination blocks, success at center.
Yeah.
But then, and his weakness says lacks technique on double teams and down blocks. Like that, a combination block and a double team is the same damn thing, man.
Right.
So I think Kay did a good job. I think he helped himself with his numbers. I think the bench is a huge thing for offensive linemen. And he might redo some of these at pro day just to be like, I can do better than that. I can get a higher number, which most of these guys might do that too. But I think it was overall a good day for him.
All right, let's jump into. We'll stay on the offensive side of the ball. Let's talk about VJ.
Okay. Yeah. Velas, a 5.93 grade, average backup or special teamer. I think he's better than that. I think he's better than a backup, better than just a special teams guy. I think he can be a special teams guy, but that 4.31 speed says different.
All right. I've been thinking about this. That's honestly kind of, man, this is tough. I actually kind of agree with it. I actually think that he would be a backup special teamer. I personally will be a little bit surprised if he is a rotational, like plays a decent amount guy.
Okay.
I would be very surprised if he becomes a starter, but I was shocked when I saw that he was the second fastest 40 out of all receivers with a 4.31. That is absolutely flying. And the thing that's weird about that is I thought the same thing about Ty Chandler because I saw Ty Chandler busted a 4.3. And I never once saw Ty Chandler or Velas play. And I knew they were fast, but I never thought they were like 4.3. Hey, let's take advantage and let's just run him by him and take the top off of a defense. Now, VJ
I told you during the season that I was like, is Velas fast? I couldn't. We both had multiple conversations. We had multiple conversations about that because we would watch him and we're like, he looks smooth, but he doesn't look like super fast. And to come out and run a 4.31. Now, the one thing that people have to remember, there are people that run 4.3s or 4.4s, and that translates to a game, and they leave people. And then you got like a Tyreek Hill or like Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson or Deshaun Jackson back in the day, or Ted Ginn back in the day. Like these are just some of the guys that I remember from like kind of my childhood and stuff. That you see and you're like, yeah, like they are on another level fast. But then like guys that can go and run on a track and like they'll burn it, but then they look fast, but they don't look like as fast as you think they should when they're on the field playing.
Yes.
So I was very surprised when I saw that, but I actually I that's what I kind of think he is. I kind of think he's a backup. I think VJ might play 2 or 3 years in the league, like, and maybe kind of be in and out. I mean, I just think it's so hard to make it as a wide receiver. First off, it's just really hard to make it in the NFL, but I think it's pretty darn tough to make it as a wide receiver. And I'm just thinking about some of the other guys that have come out of UT, like Justin Hunter, Josh Malone. I'm trying to think of some of these other guys that like have played a little bit but hasn't really made it. They kind of – Justin Hunter had a couple good years with the Titans, but Josh Malone's been bounced around. So it's like I'm trying to like compare, and I'm like, I will be pretty surprised if VJ's on a team. Like I don't see him doing what Josh Palmer's doing. I don't see him doing what Marquez Callaway's kind of doing.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, my thought process is I think he can be a very good special teams guy, which is that can keep you in the league for a while.
Agreed.
But the way I look at it, I'm like, I look back like on the Titans season when those guys went down and we had those random names playing wide receiver. I'm like, Velas is like, I could see Velas being better than all of them and doing better than all of them. And that could easily set him up to be like the slot guy next to AJ and Julio, where like AJ and Julio are the better players, but he might be a good 3. So I just like compare it to what I've seen on the field or compare it to certain teams. I'm like, well, this wide receiver plays or this wide receiver started. Why would a 4.31 guy who's played outside and inside not be able to get on the field. That's kind of my thought process. And I get what you're saying when you're like comparing them to old Tennessee receivers, because coming out, I'm going to say Justin Hunter is better than Velus Jones Jr. Like coming out of college, I'm going to say Marquez Callaway, Juwan Jennings is better than Velus. Just because I only got a couple years with Velus, I saw how hard those guys worked, how impressive some of the stuff they did was.
We can just go see some of their highlights.
Yeah, just go look at their highlights, and it's like these jump balls, these just breakaway, like taking slants to the house, that kind of stuff, where you didn't necessarily see that with Velus, but like Velus was always so consistent and just there and just like making plays and doing what he needs to do. And he had a good amount of touchdowns this year. And I think that says a lot about who he can be in the NFL.
Do not get me wrong, and I think I'm speaking for you as well. Don't get you wrong. Like, this is an obvious statement. We both want him to do well, and we both like him, and we do both think he's a good football player. But, like, if I'm just trying to be as honest as I can about the NFL, like, that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to think that we're knocking him. I want to read some of these weaknesses. We'll be a 25-year-old rookie. People are like, what the hell does that matter? I mean, I think it's kind of nice because he's going to be more mature coming in, but I do get what they mean by, like, 25 is pretty darn old for the NFL as a rookie. Like, I mean, they're getting guys that are 21, 22, 23, and that does help with whether it's your athletic ability, your being able to be there for during the duration of like a rookie contract. But
a lot of guys have retired at 30, 31,
28. Yeah.
So it's just like, how many years does he have?
Yeah, no, agreed. And then it says below average wingspan and catch radius. Doesn't drive hard into his routes off the snap. Unnatural stride length, gives away route stems. Inefficient footwork at the top of his routes. Only asked to run extremely basic routes. So I'm not going to comment on like the inefficient of his footwork. I don't know. I haven't watched it. Plus, even if I did watch it, it would have to be super obvious for me to know. I don't know that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Stride length to give his route stems. Okay. He doesn't drive into his routes off the snap. Okay. Now I will say only asked to run extremely basic routes. I don't disagree with that. He would run a go from the slot a lot of the times.
Yeah. Heupel simplified it this year for him.
Agreed. Agreed.
So we could have success. And also his weaknesses are all things that he can change. Besides the wingspan thing, all things that he can get better at. It's like, if you give me a weakness and it's you're injured a lot, you don't have length, you're slow, it's like, oh crap. Like I wasn't able to get faster through 4 or 5 years of college, then I'm just slow, But like getting better footwork at the top of routes, like you can teach that. You can go to somebody and he can help you with that. So
I think
it does make me feel better that it's all like, here's a little bit of technique issues that you can fix.
I think that's one of the best points you've actually ever made on this podcast ever, because it's so true. And then if you look at some of his strengths, can line up inside, outside. Routes showed some improvement later in the season. Ding, ding, ding. So they showed improvement later in the season. Obviously, if he gets to the NFL and that's his profession, that's all he's doing, it should be even better. Play strengths to fight through contact and work back to the ball. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. Finishes the catch despite heavy hits. I agree with that. Run after catch talent is a factor. I agree with that. Just I think back to the Missouri game when he took the little smoke screen or whatever, the inside middle screen, tears out of arm tackles, gives up his body for additional yards. Yeah. Special teams wizard. They have special teams wizard on here. Yeah. So, I think that this last one on his strength can play gunner. That would be a place where instead of being on the punt return, he's going down and making the tackles. And if you're a 4'3" guy and good size like he is, that's where you could make a name. But I mean,
204, like that's a thick boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think, I think all of this, I think it's pretty spot on with him. And it is funny that you bring up the Titans because we're both Titans fans. We watch them every week. So yeah, I get it. You're talking about Nakina Westbrook. You're talking about Chester Rogers. You're talking about Josh Reynolds. I thought Josh Reynolds was going to be better than the Titans than he was. His lack of speed really kind of hurt getting off man coverage. He's not with the team anymore. Nakina Westbrook, that one's still a head scratcher. They love him. I think he's fine. Chester Rogers actually has been a decent pro. He's been around for a while. So I think saying VJ could be Chester Rogers might be a little bit of a slide, even though I'm not saying he's great, but I think he's been around a while. I will not be surprised if he's in the league for a little while, 2, 3, 4 years, but I will be surprised if it's anything like super meaningful snaps. Like, people forget, like, Justin Hunter still had game-winning touchdowns for the Titans, like, still played some legit meaningful snaps for a year or so. And I would be kind of surprised if BJ did that. That's my final.
And hey, go check out that Justin Hunter interview I had a while back.
Yes, I enjoyed that.
So that was a good one. But yeah, I think Velus helped himself. One thing before we move to the next, he didn't do any of the other running drills, the shuttle, the 3-cone. I think it's another thing. Maybe he's like, you know what, I can get better at this. I'm not like my perfect self yet. But I also noticed that like only half the receivers did those anyways. A lot of the guys didn't do them. So I don't know if that's like receivers being like, you know what, I'll take the hand time from scouts at my pro day over a laser at the NFL Combine because it'll look better.
Yeah.
So,
no,
possibly.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's good depending on where you're going to be drafted and depending on how high of a prospect you are, and depending on what your body's like at the time. Like, it's not a bad thing to go and only do a few things and then say, hey, I'll see you in a month. You know, I think some of the guys that know that they didn't put as much on tape or didn't play as much, and they're the combine freaks that everyone knows of. Like, yeah, it's good to go do everything and try to be the wow guy, you know, because there are a couple guys every year that get drafted just because they have an awesome combine. It always shocks me when it happens, and it shouldn't, because like I said, it happens every year.
Every single year. Yeah.
All right, I'm fired up to talk about this next boy.
Yeah, Matthew Butler, baby. Okay, so running to Matthew Butler, he got a 6.2 grade. Will eventually be an average starter. I mean, that kind of reminds me of like Shy Tuttle. You know what I mean? Or like Shy Tuttle's like average starter. You don't really hear that much from him, but he still makes some plays here and there, a sack, maybe a fumble recovery or something. And Shy was always a very good player. 6'4", 297, 33.5 inches, 9 1/4 inch hands. He's got the right size. Like, you want to see that 6'4" line. Like, if it's 6'3", it doesn't seem as much. I think he's got a good weight to him. That feels like he probably played heavier and like trimmed up, got a little leaner, hit that 297.
1,000%.
1,000%.
Everybody, I mean, I would say all these guys are running in Wayne's lighter, you know, for offensive linemen, defensive linemen, probably even linebackers, you know, maybe some running backs. I mean, it might have been some corners and receivers that try to put on a little bit of weight, but all these guys were slimming down because they want to run. They want to run well. Now,
you know, looking through strengths and weaknesses, I very much agree. Before we get to that, looking at the numbers, he ran a 5 flat 40, which is fine. He's defensive tackle. He's 300 pounds. Everything else besides the vert, I think like hurt him. I don't think it helped him, because you can't tell me, if you were a bet man, that you would say Cade Mays has better lateral quickness than Matthew Butler going into this. Right. But he timed better on both 3-cone and the shuttle. So it's like, man, that stinks. Like, I would have thought Matthew Butler had better lateral quickness than me, and I beat him on both of those.
Well, hold on. Do you have Cade's pulled up? Because I have Matthew's pulled up. Or do you have Cade's written down?
Yeah, so Cade's 3-cone was a 7.57.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
And Matthew Butler's is a 7.89. Cade's 20-yard shuttle was a 4.71. Matthew's is a 4.8.
Wow. Okay.
So that's why, like, that shocked me. I was like, 5 flat on the 40, good job. That's fine. But then those results, I feel like he should definitely redo it at the pro day and try and get a better time. If I was him.
Yeah. So it's funny that you say that because I feel the exact same way. 5'5" flat, that's fine. I thought his size, I actually did not think that he was going to hit 6'4". That's all. I thought he was more like 6'2", 6'3". So that's awesome. His arm length, I mean, 33 is not bad for his arm length. Like, I feel like that's not bad. I was kind of surprised by the bench press. 17, I was like,
that's low, man.
I was like 17, like you did 33,
32,
32. And then I'm going to go ahead and say it, like the most I ever did was 14. So it's like, there's no way I should do 225, 14. And I was probably like 208 at the time. And I cranked out 4. Now the granted is I'm 6'1", he's 6'4". His arms are obviously probably going to be longer than mine. I don't know that I've never done my official arm length, but like,
but he also, I mean, he probably 100 pounds more than you whenever you did that.
Yes. No. Yeah. Yeah. No, he was.
And
yes.
when I came in as a freshman at UT, I did it, in the summer. So I was like fresh out of high school and I got 18.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I was 17 years old. My max was probably like 325, 330 on bench. And I got 18. I'm like, bro, like, I don't know if like you just don't have a big chest, like if it's just like naturally not good for you, but definitely do that again at the pro day.
And let me say this as another caveat. I honestly don't really care about numbers at the combine. I will always be one of the more like, if Duke can ball, Duke can ball. Matthew
Film is so much more important.
Correct.
Always
yeah,
is.
And we love Matthew. Like, I love Matthew. Matthew's a baller. The most important, we're just digesting. We're just talking, so we're not knocking him. I actually really thought that the 6.2 was a good grade, and I think this is perfect. Will eventually be an average starter. When you hear average, that means, oh, well, he's just kind of whatever. No, guys, an average starter in the NFL is a dog, bro. Like, is a very good player. This is one of those guys that is going to that I think can end up on your team, and it's easy for me to go back for Tennessee Titans. So, like, it's going to be like, hell, I don't know, like a guy from the past that's like not bad, but like he still makes plays and he's a good rotational piece. And like the fans, like Carl Klug of a couple of years ago, like would still make plays. Like, I'm not going to say Danico Autry of this year because Danico Autry is a very, very fine football player. Yeah. But like a William Hayes was a defensive lineman for the Titans that like never got a ton of pub because he was playing next to Albert Haynesworth. But like William Hayes was good. Then he went on to, St. Louis. But I'm just thinking of these guys that, like, and I think Shy Tuttle is also perfect. Like, New Orleans Saints fans are like, oh yeah, we like Shy Tuttle, like plays hard, good player, will make those plays every now and again, but he's not going to be like, a freak. But I think
people outside of New Orleans and Knoxville don't know that he's there.
But he's still a good player, right?
Yeah.
Like he's still good. And so that's that. Like, I don't want people to hear like, oh, he's just an average starter. Like, no, a starter in the NFL means darn good. And that's what I do really think Matthew Butler can be. So, even though I was a little surprised by some of these numbers and thought that his strength would be better, like, I don't care because I know the kid can play. And like, there's going to be guys that I know for a fact this past season he lined up against that probably could do 30 and 40 reps on the bench press. And guess what? He whipped them. He used his hands. He used his speed. He used his technique. He used his bull rush. Like, some of this stuff ultimately doesn't matter. But we're talking about it in the context of just the combine. We're just talking about how you do in the combine. It doesn't mean how you're going to actually be in the NFL. So
and how people look at the combine, because we might not necessarily agree to say like, I'm going to put a lot of weight in this 3-cone, but some of those scouts do.
Right.
And they're like, they got burned by some random guy who had everything else, but like his 3-cone was bad. And then he ended up being a bad player. And like, they have some like personal, like that stuff happens. So that's the way we're approaching it. But again, with the film thing, on his strengths, the very first one is put impressive tape together against Alabama. And on his weaknesses, the second one, failed to make much of an impact against Georgia's mauling front. So it literally, like, playing in the SEC, playing against elite teams makes a difference when scouting, because they go, what's the best offensive line? Georgia's. Okay, what did he do versus the best? And like scouts interpret like these guys for Georgia's offensive line are going to play in the NFL. So this is an NFL line. What did he do versus them? So you really have to take advantage of those games. Now, I wouldn't say he didn't make any impact.
Yeah,
but
I wouldn't agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree with that, but it makes a difference. It was
Sure.
It reminded me of like when we were talking about Henry Toto, like transferring to Alabama. I'm like, dude, you have to go put good tape together. You're playing against the best defenses in the country, no matter if you're at Tennessee or at Alabama. They're all in the SEC. Like, I really don't think him transferring to Alabama like really makes that big of a difference when it comes to getting to the NFL. I mean,
he's just gonna say that the coaching down there's better, the development's better is probably what he thinks, and then obviously he wants to win, maybe. So
yeah, but it's still just like, okay, well, what did you do versus Georgia's offense?
I know what you're talking about, Phil.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're playing Georgia at Alabama and you're playing Georgia at Tennessee. What did you do versus their offense? So that's all on you. That doesn't it doesn't determine. The coaches don't matter on the film.
Yeah, but they can prep you more to get better. But the other thing is too, I'm going to look a hell of a lot better, with a good defensive lineman in front of me than maybe something else. But let's show his strengths. Put impressive tape together against Bama. Plays with athletic movements and bend. Capable to stack and shed versus single blocks. Hell, I think he can do that against double teams too.
Yeah.
Range and motor will have him in on action. Love that because he did have a great motor. Lateral quickness. Agreed. Maintains gap integrity with steady base. Agreed. Secondary effort makes him tough to sustain and finish for blockers. Agreed.
Yeah. So if some of you don't quite understand some of these, but like maintaining gap integrity, you're always assigned a gap as a defensive player. And the fact that he didn't get pushed out of his gap, he was able to hold it there. So ball's not coming through this gap. Like you better find somewhere else to go.
Well, correct. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because for maybe people that don't know, as a defensive lineman, your gap integrity, whether it's a run play or whether it's, hey, I got to make sure the QB doesn't come up and pass me in my lane, which is something we talked about a bunch that the defense maybe struggled with this year. But that's the thing about Matthew Butler, because like he's getting a push and he's holding it. And if it's a run play, he's really good to make the stop. And if it's a pass play, that's where he keeps fighting. And I think he does do a good job of really not necessarily just getting pressure, but besides getting pressure, he also will recreate the pocket. And that's an important thing. I mean, if you're not going to get a sack, but you got a center or a guard's feet getting back tangled up with the quarterback, that's very good.
Huge.
Changes into force anchor and then works to an edge. Agreed. Rushes with body control and good change of directions. Agreed. Do you want to go through his weaknesses and read those?
Sure. Lacks desired girth in his lower body. Yeah, I guess if you're looking at him, his lower body looks thinner than most. But, I mean, I don't know what his squat is or anything like that. But, I mean, I've seen running backs that don't look like they have a big lower body squat 500. So,
right.
If you're strong, you're strong. Failed to make an impact versus Georgia. Balance can waver when his base narrows. So does everyone else. Like, what do you mean? That's what you're taught as a football player, not to have a narrow base.
I was gonna say that's for life, bro. If I go over to my mom and say, "Hey, mom, put your feet closer together,"
if my feet are like this, I'm gonna fall over. Like,
hey, this is by Lance Zerline, NFL analyst. All right, thanks, Lance.
Yeah, appreciate it, Lance. Needs better feel and take on against edge blocks. I'm not sure what he's saying. Like if he's lined up at D end,
right? Yeah,
edge blocks.
Yeah.
But he's not going to play defensive end, so
correct.
Who cares? Lack of separation length shows up at times. So I guess they're just saying like his length, his arm length, he doesn't get much separation from guys. Average upfield burst to set the tone with his rush.
I
with
disagree
that.
Get
his counters more quickly.
I'm okay with getting to the counters more quickly. That's a lot of rushers. That could be nitpicky on a lot of people. even guys that are already good in the NFL. But like average upfield burst, I don't know about that, bro.
Yeah, because some of the biggest plays he had was getting into the line immediately,
so quick,
and just bodying the guard or the center. So I'm not sure if they're like on 3rd and long in pass rush situations and he can't jump and then he doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah,
because I wish they would have put down like his 10-yard, because I don't know if they actually they don't put it down on this. Let me see if like the video actually shows it, because that'll tell you like what a guy's burst is. That's always more important for offensive lineman and defensive lineman.
Defensive lineman, yeah, just 10 yards. Yeah. Just know what the 10-yard burst. I think it actually does show. I think it does show it. Go down to the bottom where he runs his 40, and I think it does show a 10-yard split. I think I saw it was like a 1-8. I'll tell you in just a second. I'm watching him run. Let's see what it says if it pops up here.
I don't know if it said anything.
It didn't show it there. I will say this, looking at some of these other D tackles, I mean, what Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis did, bro.
Bro, what? I freaking tweeted about him like, thank God I retired when I did. Meaning like, thank God I didn't get any more calls to the NFL because I'm a piece of shit. But anyways,
dude,
Jordan, that guy's ridiculous.
That means Jordan Davis at 6'6", 341 could walk outside right now and smoke me in a race. And not only smoke me, but smoke like half of anyone that thinks they're an athlete.
Everyone that's listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
He would beat you in a race. He's 340 pounds.
Because that's a 4.78 at an NFL Combine official like laser time. Like, and I'm 30 years old now. Like there's no way I'd beat him in a race. Like, and that's insane to think.
Insane. Like that was crazy to see. Crazy. I want to go look at all of his other stuff now.
Oh, and
I didn't even look at it.
Yeah, Devontae Wyatt, 6'3", 304, and he comes out and runs a 4.77. And it's like no wonder freaking Georgia. I mean, not only are these guys combine freaks, but they're also freaks on the field. So it's like, you know. Yeah,
and then a 32-inch vert and 123-inch broad. Like, that's explosive, dude.
That's crazy.
That's what, 10-2?
Hey, but the good thing for Matthew Butler is only 5 people beat him in the 40, which is great. I mean, that's only 5 people at his position beat him in his 40, which I love to see that.
I'm excited to see what Jordan Davis does in, like, he's got the same hand size as me, 10 3/4.
They said, though, they were talking about him and they said he played more at like 340, 350, or let's see, what did they have him listed at?
341.
Yeah, so they think he might have played at like 350, or like they think he
360, like heavier.
And that's one thing. Hey, that's one thing you've got to worry about. I hope that, because these guys know, like, hey, I go train for 2 months and I get drafted, I'm an instant millionaire. It's like all they got to do. So it's like when they get the money, like hopefully they maintain weight. Because that's really what makes some of these guys different is like, are you going to have the discipline to go to the NFL and to work hard on your own and do things on your own and like to be great? Or are you just going to like go get a bunch of money and then you're like, well, see ya. Like I'm good.
Yeah. It's when you're 340 pounds, it's real easy to gain 10.
Yes.
Gain 20.
Yeah.
Like it's real easy. So you just got to be careful. I got up to like 330 at my heaviest. And I mean, it was easy to just like go up 5 pounds in a week. Oh. Like it's very easy when you're that heavy.
So I was looking here. Some of the DBs have run, but some of the DBs have run, and I don't see Alante yet. There's a couple guys in here that are putting up kind of mid to high 4.5s. And there's a guy from Clemson ran a 4.61, a guy from Arkansas running a 4.62. I'm going to be shocked if Alante doesn't go out there and bust a low 4.4 or high 4.3.
Dude, yeah. And if he ends up being like, top 3 in DBs and speed, like that's going to look awesome for him.
Yeah, it will. And I think he's going to measure pretty well. So I'll be excited to see, I cannot wait to see what his grade is, to read what they have him for his grade.
Well, they have a prospect grade now.
Oh, they do. Oh, you're right.
Yeah, 6.17, good backup with potential to develop into a starter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so like I'll take that. Like it's actually a pretty good, and I think it has to do with his size. Like he's 6 foot 199, 32 and a quarter inch arms, 9 1/8 inch hands. Like he's a long, big corner, and teams are going to like that out of him. I mean, first thing in strengths, possesses NFL size and length to play outside. I think like Richard Sherman helped all of the long corners in the world.
Right.
Like just being who he was and not being like a burner or anything like that, but just being smart, using his length and understanding where a guy might go. But since we don't have any of the numbers, we'll just go through like strengths and weaknesses for Alante. But
I can't. This is kind of annoying because I can't find him on here. I might try to look it up real quick. But continue because I'm trying to listen to what you're saying, but trying to find him as well.
Yeah. So strength, I said the size and length, plays through pain. So just saying like he got hurt and he said, "Screw it, I'm going out there and I'm going to play." His leadership helped rally the team after loss to Florida. I mean that's awesome. That literally his leadership and his ability to be a guy everyone looks to as part of his strengths. Punch from press is forceful and aggressive. I agree. Captures and crowds outside release against the sideline. Yes. He forces guys into that sideline if you're trying to outside release on him. Get the most out of his reroutes and cover 2. Yeah, I think like a cover 2 defense is perfect for him. Like I said, like Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he can be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah. Displayed above average route anticipation against Ole Miss. Responsive to passers' eyes and movements from zone. Very much so. He had those picks because of it. Adequate recognition of route combos in cover 3. And then talented gunner on special teams. I would agree with that. Talented gunner. Weaknesses, high cut with leggy change of direction. He is lanky. So he does have those long legs, and they're saying like it's a lot more difficult when you do to make those quick turns and quick cuts. Labored hip corrections when juked by press release. Yeah.
That's just basically the same thing, like using his hips, flipping them, turning,
Yeah, flipping him, turning. When he is in that press and they get past him on that first move, it's hard for him to get back over. Very average recovery quickness in space. Plant and drive acceleration from back pedal is lacking.
See, that just should never happen. Nothing with speed should ever be an issue with him because he is so fast and I get it. There's a complete difference between speed and quickness, but I don't think he's not quick either. So I think he's fast and quick. So it's weird that anything speed related, but it's true. I agree with some of these things. When you're watching on film, hell, it might be some of his mental, doesn't catch up quick enough for his body. They're real. I mean, I don't know what it is, but yeah. Continue.
Yeah. Plant and drive acceleration from back pedal is lacking. So pretty much you're backpedaling as that corner. You see that someone stopped their route or quarterback's putting your foot in the ground going. Limited burst to close allows pitch and catch from off man.
I agree.
So yeah, I would agree with that. Can be delayed in read reaction to run plays. I think there were instances of that. I remember being hey, make this tackle, Alante, and he didn't on certain times. But he is still a good tackling corner.
Yeah.
He's still aggressive enough to go up and make a tackle where a lot of corners are scared and shy away from him.
He's a very willing tackler. And I think even if it does sometimes take him a little bit to recognize, when he does finally recognize, he is so fast to come up that helps. Yeah,
but see, and this goes against what we just said. The next two are needs to shed blocks and wrap up on the runner and then not in a huge hurry to tackle bigger backs.
See, I disagree that he's.
Yeah, wholeheartedly.
I mean, first off, yeah, his shed blocking could maybe get better, but like, so a lot of times he didn't wrap up, but a lot of times he'd come in and slide in and flip somebody. And like, I think I thought he was a pretty good tackler. I think he's a very willing tackler. I think he has a chance on special teams. I'm a little bit surprised, honestly, with his grade. I really am. I think it's all because of his potential. Like I think his would be more special teams with a chance to be a backup. Like, I think he'd be more in line with what VJ is compared to what Matthew Butler is.
Yeah,
but that's just based on watching him play these years and his film and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, dude, like you said, if he runs a 4.4, low 4.4s, like that could jump him up a lot.
I think he will get drafted. Like, I'm gonna say, without knowing, because I didn't do a deep dive, without knowing how deep or not deep. Yeah, how deep or not deep this class is. I mean, I would say probably anywhere between. I would say I'll go 5th. That's going to be my guess. I'm going to say he'll go 5th round.
Yeah.
So maybe that's because of his play, but he might get taken in 3rd and 4th because of his potential. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how deep this class is, but if he goes before 5, I'll be pretty surprised. But then again, most of the time those guys know better than I do. So
yeah, I agree with that. I do think today and his numbers can really affect that 5 or 3 or wherever he ends up. Before we jump off here, quick update on Vol baseball. Played number 1 Texas on Friday. Suffered our first loss to a very good Texas team. And I don't think this is like saying Tennessee can't compete with the top. I think there were some questionable calls in that game also. I'll put it up on the YouTube, like pictures. It was like 4-2. We had a guy on 2nd, a guy on 3rd, 2 strikes. And like, we, potentially can bring these runners in, and ump calls 3rd strike. I mean, it's not even close to over the plate. And then another one, I can't remember who it was, sliding into 2nd, throw from outfield, and he tags the bag before I think it was a shortstop touches him. And it's just like, man, like, you guys have reviews in baseball. That's the thing too. It's like, we have instant replay in baseball. So I don't even understand how that stuff gets by these umps. And I can actually send you these pictures, Reed, so you can see them.
Yeah, I was about to say, because your boy did not get to watch any of it. I was busy watching golf.
It's kind of crazy. I'll send both of them to you. But the slide, he's obviously touching the bag before he's touched. And then the pitch, it's like, there's nothing in front of the umpire. There's like a gap, and the ball's like way over to the left. It's crazy.
Well, I can't pull it up because I saw you send it to me. I can't pull it up because I'm using that phone for Zoom. I will look at it afterwards there.
Okay.
Did we end up what was I about to say? Did we end up winning last night?
Yes.
So I thought.
Yes. Let me look at that final score because I couldn't remember what it was. But we did end up winning last night. I always hate, man. I try and go on ESPN, and they never have baseball. NCAA baseball.
Just Google. Just always Google. That's what I always do.
It just always ticks me off.
It's so easy.
I gotta go through this whole thing.
Just do Tennessee. Just do Tennessee baseball, and it'll always.
Beat Baylor 10-5.
Yeah.
And then we got Oklahoma today.
I was listening to it. We were up 1-0 on the way home from church. I don't know what they're doing right now.
6-0 right now, top of the 7th.
Nice.
This is a damn good baseball team now.
You better get your butt on over here from Nashville to come catch a game.
I know. Well, they're actually coming to Nashville to play Vandy later in the year.
Yes, that's hype. Yeah, I would actually like to come to Nashville, eat at some of my places I miss since I don't live there anymore, and go there. That would be fun. We just go over there and just get rowdy.
Hell yeah! I got my nice Todd Helton jersey on. I'm ready. I'm excited.
You have a Todd Helton jersey?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I bought it last year when Vol baseball was popping off. I was like, damn, I want a jersey. That'd be sick. And then saw one online. I was like, have to.
And what is it? Was it Tennessee? It's a Tennessee one. It says Helton on the back.
No, it's just number 3. It doesn't say Helton.
Oh, okay.
But
I gotcha.
It's Todd Helton. Let's be honest.
I gotcha. All right, big boy. Well, I enjoyed today. We went a little long because we got wrapped up in some combines talk and stuff, but hopefully everyone enjoyed it.
And Batman,
I could have talked even longer because I always forget.
I agree.
I don't know how I forget. I don't know how I didn't call you yesterday to talk to you about that.
I don't know either, Reed. I didn't know you were seeing it.
I know.
Anyways, okay. So appreciate you guys watching, listening. If you're on the YouTube, subscribe, like, hit that notification bell. If you're on any kind of listening platforms, rate, review, follow, share with your friends and family. Let them know what we got going on, how much fun we have during these podcasts. If you want to reach out to us, number 865-322-9232, and then email bleavintennesseefootball@gmail.com. Follow us on social media at bleavintennessee on Twitter for our main account, at rbacon26 for Reed, at Kyler Kerbison on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the same. So you can follow me there. And yeah, just again, always appreciate you guys, commenting, liking, posting about us. Anything helps. It always means the world to us. So very much appreciate it. As always, go Vols.